So we're in the mailbag now, and we're having some fun. The got this one in from Jessica Thompson, which I thought was really interesting.
It's Miss Jessica to us.
That's Miss Jessica. And it's
did you ever notice how in the South even married women are Miss?
Yes. Yep.
Miss Ellie.
Miss Lila. Miss Francis.
Yep. Miss Lorelei. Let's live together. Wow.
Anyway, she sends this one with
now I've got the Gilmore Girls and Sticks in my head. Great.
So Jessica sends this.
That Graham chick is going to break me. I'm telling you this.
She says, I may never go to the beach again. This happened up in Chesapeake Bay. Coffin with human skeleton believed to be 100 years old found at Chesapeake Bay. And
vacation?
Full skeleton in there. And they go, this rarely happens. I mean, every now and again we get a coffin washing up, but almost never do we get it with a skeleton in it. But it's too beat up to know whether it's male, female, how old it is, yada, 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 right?
They should get bones to look at it.
That's right. They should. Now,
and no, I don't mean the Chanel girl. I mean Kathy Reich, the actual Bones girl.
Yeah. So, and it was found by a guy whose last name is Oliver, right? And they're going to reinter it. And I'm reading this whole story and I'm going, oh wow, this is, it's kind of odd, but it gets down to the very last line when the kicker hits me. It wasn't the first time Oliver found human remains. He found a leg bone about 15 years ago. That bone was also interred in a local church cemetery. But when are they going to start investigating Oliver? He's finding a lot of dead people.
I mean, he's found a couple of bone things here.
Yeah, and I think this is probably worth some time.
Remember in Sherlock where the black detective lady, I can't think of her name, kept saying, one day it won't be enough. And her idea was, you know what? He solves all these weird things because he committed them.
Oh, sure.
Which is always
that's always a hoot.
And then he explained to her how he knew that she was having oral sex with the forensics guy, and the conversation stopped immediately. Imagine that.
I can see where that stopped my conversation.
That was the first frickin' episode of Sherlock. It was marvelous.
I'm trying to remember that. I have to go back and watch it.
She always called him Freak. What are you doing here, Freak? I was invited.
Oh, that. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep. You sent me one that's weird.
Yeah.
The name Frank Buck ring a bell with anyone but us? Bet not. He was a best-selling author and movie star renowned for capturing wild critters all over the world and shipping them back here to the U.S. I mean, he had like movies made of his exploits.
Yep.
He was even in an Abbott and Costello movie.
Was he really?
Yeah. Africa Screams in 1949.
Oh, wow.
I had to look it up. I can't find anywhere to watch it.
I have seen the movie in the past.
When he died in 1950, the New York Times obit noted that by his own estimate, he'd captured more than 100,000 birds of every variety, 50 elephants, scores of pythons, 65 tigers, and hundreds of other wild animals. It's the other wild animals that intrigue us.
That matter here.
Because remember the recent monkey outbreak?
Yeah.
Breakout. Actually, be the monkey breakout.
Yes.
And they still have, what, half a dozen of them or so?
Is that right? Yeah, the last time you reported,
it was either 6 or 12 of them are still on the loose.
Yeah, they're sitting outside the compound, I should say.
Smoking cigarettes, drinking tequila, talking smart.
Hey, can't catch me.
It's what monkeys do. They're macaques, right? The ones that escaped now?
I believe that's correct.
Buck's specialties was Reese's macaques. A relatively small simian native to Asia. He would scoop them up in such quantities you could buy in bulk 100 monkeys for anywhere from $850 to $1,000.
Why would you want so many?
Start your own monkey farm? I don't know.
Monkey ranch, you silly goose.
Buck also noted that monkeys could be a handful, saying, quoting now, this is him, "No other living creature is so completely imbued with mischievousness, No other so triumphantly relishes man's discomfort or can be so maddeningly impish. Or they're wild animals that don't like to be captured. Just a thought.
Yep.
So he had one where they lost lost. I mean, this was a guy, he brought the biggest orangutan to the Chicago World's Fair. The two biggest pythons in captivity were there, giant dragon lizards. And then they made a jungle in, was it Massapequa, New York?
Yeah, I think so.
It's on Long Island.
Yep.
And he opened a jungle camp, and there's, in the story you sent me, there's a picture of this mountain and things, and big sign, Frank Buck's Jungle Camp. Monkey Mountain was what it was called.
I love the alliteration.
So we had 43 rhesus macaques escape from South Carolina. In 1935, as many as 175 of those little rascals escaped from their mountain after a worker left a wooden plank over the moat, which was there to keep them in. In a movie, you would have seen that plank there, and they would have stopped and lingered on it for a moment so you knew.
Foreshadowing.
Their leader was a monkey named Capone.
And not Einstein. Imagine that.
I don't know. Capone, Capone wasn't an idiot, and neither was this monkey Capone.
Okay.
Across the U.S., it was on page 1 most of the time because there were no war scares or kidnappings on the front pages. And this point in 1935.
A monkey infestation.
And a grand monkey escape.
Ooh, the great monkey escape.
According to the New York Daily News.
One of them named a queen who could ride a bicycle.
Motorcycle. Come on. You may be small, but he's tough. Monkeys and cool. Monkeys were everywhere, chattering, scampering, leaping from tree to tree, swarming down on 100 laborers working on the right-of-way to the Long Island Railroad, and the latter, with wild yells of fright, dropped into their picks and shovels and fled. 4 days into the Great Escape, according to...
See, we're there.
With all due respect to Steve
Which one
McQueen.
is James Garner?
And Garner actually gave the director a dressing down once.
Yes, he did.
With Donald Pleasance. That was marvelous.
Yep.
You have to Google it all, but it's very cool because most of those guys that were in The Great Escape were actually war heroes.
Yeah, and yes.
The war they were depicting.
Right. And Pleasance was particularly...
He was in a prison camp, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
4 days into The Great Escape, the Associated Press reported that a motorist had swerved to avoid a roadblock of 35 monkeys. He ended up driving his car into a ditch. There was one monkey casualty.
Oh.
Lawrence wasn't the brightest monkey. I don't know if that's his name, but it just seemed right. The Massapequa Fire Department had to put up a 65-foot ladder to bring down monkeys from flagpoles. Another pair climbed a high-tension transmission tower near the town of Hicksville. There was a 30-minute outrage and the smell of crispy monkey.
I was going to say, they were already cooked when they hit the ground.
Well, they're monkeys. Nice. Many locals took Buck's team up on the offer to return them because he'd offer a reward.
Yeah.
Some people are so motivated by the bounty that they reportedly turned their own monkeys, more common house pet than nowadays, I guess. Some would-be trappers started to leave saucers of whiskey in the nearby woods.
Get them drunk and do what you want.
Exactly. They hoped the monkeys would be easier to capture when they were half in the bag, if you say. That way you put them all the way in the bag. Do you remember who was the comedian? Yeah, I believe the only monkey actually caught with a saucer of whiskey was W.C. Monkey.
Really?
Sure.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. He and who's a chick back in the day? Flamboyant girl actually didn't care about the sexuality of things.
Yeah.
The censors nuts. W.C. Fields and those were two of those people in Hollywood you just don't find anymore because they pretty much suck the life out of everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, took 3 weeks into the zoo break. The AP reported that Capone was still at large.
Ooh.
The bounty was now $50.
Ooh.
One macaque.
Mm-hmm.
One local newspaper reported in August, last Sunday, over 10,000 persons who have read about goings-on at the jungle camp overran the place in their curiosity to see the zoo and hope of catching a glimpse of one of their hairy fugitives.
Fuzzy Fugitive would have been better.
Oh, I did not understand when I first started reading this story that Planet of the Apes was a documentary and not a drama.
Well, finish the link, though.
Indeed, Buck was conveniently out of town at the time of the escape. It was not a stunt. Wait, hang on. One syndicated columnist wrote he didn't know if the mayhem in Massapequa was a stunt or not, but if it was, I salute the press agent who pulled it off. Not only did it make headlines everywhere, but it coincided nicely with the reappearance of Buck himself after a year's absence in the jungles. For you see, Buck was out of town when they escaped. He arrived in San Francisco from Asia a week later, told reporters he'd be rushing back to New York. Can you really rush back to New York in 1935?
Well,
I suppose rushing back is relative.
Maybe a brisk walk.
I would think a train, maybe. He could have flown, but yeah. He's going to take personal charge of the recapture effort. But he needn't have worried about losing a monkey or two. The cargo from his latest trip, he noted, included another fine collection of monkeys from all over Southern Asia. 15 different varieties, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the beat goes on.
Oh, yes. Well, and they're still doing it today.
Oh, yeah.
It was from those monkeys that our monkeys came.
And as far as you mean Davy, Peter, Ringo, and Snork?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Bingo, Bango, Bongo, and Irving.
Nope, those are the mosquitoes.
Same thing.
Hurts my heart that I know that. Bingo, Fleagle, Drooper, and Snork were the banana splits. Davy Jones, Peter Tork,
Mike
Mickey
Nesmith.
Dolenz, and Mike Nesmith were the monkeys.
Yeah.
But not this kind of monkey.
Exactly.
Do you suppose that Capone, or at least his relatives, are still out there smirking?
I think they're the ones that are still out.
Somewhere there's a tiny little monkey mansion.
Near
Capone's
Chicago?
there. Well, everything else weird is in Chicago, so why not? I figured the only reason Chicago got weird stuff is because New York was just too full. And California only takes the weird new ones.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. You have to be nouveau weird to get to California. If you're old school weird, you're in New York, and if you're just part of the overflow, welcome to Chicago.
There we are.
In Detroit?
Yeah. Yep. Here's one I think you'll get a kick out of. You remember the guy named Rembrandt?
Bill?
The painter.
Was a couple years older than us at Brown?
Yeah, that guy. His 1632 painting of Jacob de Gien III. There were two others. A prominent Dutch engraver has been stolen so many times it's called the takeaway Rembrandt. Get a Burger King meal, get a Rembrandt. Yeah. One of the old master's smallest works. Its size is just under 12 inches by 10 inches. Makes it easy to pilfer.
So it's like a sheet of paper size.
Yeah, roughly. Well, yeah. It's gonna have a frame on it, right?
I would hope.
The painting has been discovered in some unlikely places. By the
way, don't talk to the painting if you put the frame over the. I've seen that on a commercial.
Yep, the back of a bicycle, under a cemetery bench, and near a train station luggage rack. However, the most cinematic heist occurred in 1983 when a burglar smashed a skylight at the Dulwich Picture Gallery in London, descended a rope a la Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
No, I think it was probably more like
Batman.
Yeah.
And pried the painting off the wall with a crowbar.
Nope, back to Tom Cruise.
I love that story.
He's so subtle. There hasn't been a movie about this yet? I mean, come on, we've done the Thomas Crown Affair twice. Surely we can figure this one out.
Well, I think Cruise already put it in a movie.
It's an Easter egg if you look closely.
It's there. There it is. It's a Rembrandt, sort of. Or the Rembrandt's next to it.
It was in Night and Day with Cameron Diaz, which 4 people saw. So, all right, I got one more story.
Okay.
No, I'm going to save the Michelle story for later.
Okay.
University of Illinois, Chicago. Uh-oh. You should have known.
Yeah.
Has partnered with a local Boys and Girls Club. They want youth to get involved in science. So as part of this, the participating middle schoolers were encouraged to, collect environmental samples to discover potential new antibiotic strains.
And make up their results.
Yeah. Now, 2 students, and I would bet you money they're boys, brought in goose poop from the local park. Come on, you want to argue?
No.
I think they're boys. Convince me otherwise.
No.
The bit of poop, by the way, though, turned out to be, if you pardon the expression, a golden nugget. No, the goose didn't swallow gold.
Okay.
With the help of the university scientists, the students extracted powerful antibiotic bacteria from the feces. That would have been a huge success on its own, but soon the grown-up scientists realized the bacteria produced a compound that was completely new to science. And apparently they think it hinders now the growth of certain cancer cells. So in other words, 2 boys finding goose poop.
And they said, it's organic. Let's bring it in.
May have helped to discover a potential new anti-cancer treatment.
Yeah, but how do you get the goose to poop on the cancer?
No. You see, you get for one, how do you get the goose not to poop on the cancer?
Well, there is that.
You ever been to Worth Parkway, the golf course?
Oh, yes. Remember that?
Yeah, there are a few holes in there that you're slip sliding away no matter what.